You've always been the kind one, the understanding one, the one who forgives first and speaks last. But have you ever stopped and asked, who's protecting you? Who's standing up for your peace, your boundaries, your soul? Sometimes the people closest to us become the ones who take us for granted the most. And when you finally say enough, they call you selfish. In this video, we're going to explore how Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of inner strength, gives you the clarity and courage to deal with toxic people, not with rage, but with calm, fierce self-respect, because your peace was never meant to be negotiated. Let us begin. Part 1. Stop explaining yourself to people who've already judged you. Have you ever found yourself pouring your heart out to someone only to realize they weren't really listening? That no matter what you say, their image of you remains the same, distorted, fixed, and indifferent to truth? You speak, they twist. You clarify, they dismiss. You open up, and they use it as ammunition. If you've experienced this, you're not alone. One of the hardest lessons we learn is this: you don't owe explanations to people who have already made up their minds about you. Their judgment isn't based on your truth. It's rooted in their fears, insecurities, and biases. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." When someone views you through the lens of their own emotional wounds, your words become background noise in their narrative. And that narrative? It rarely has anything to do with who you really are. In these moments, our instinct is often to fix the misunderstanding. We think, if I just explain better, they'll understand. But ask yourself, how many times has that worked? How often has more explanation brought you peace? Or has it just drained your energy, left you questioning your own reality, and given others more leverage over your emotions? The Stoics teach us to conserve our energy, to guard our peace like a sacred flame. Seneca reminds us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. When we rehearse these conversations in our mind, imagining what we'll say, how they'll respond, and how we'll clarify, we aren't seeking connection. We're chasing ghosts. We're begging the dead to listen. This is not weakness. This is human. We all crave to be understood, but the need to explain ourselves to those unwilling to hear is a silent kind of self-betrayal. It's the slow erosion of self-respect in the name of peace that never comes. There's a subtle violence in continually handing our truth to those who twist it. A betrayal, not by them, but by us, every time we silence our own clarity for their comfort. So what's the alternative? It's radical, but it's also liberating. Let them think what they want. Let them build their story, carve their statue, rehearse their narrative. You don't have to show up to defend what they never tried to understand. As Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Here's a Stoic practice for you. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself to someone who's not truly listening, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what do I lose if they misunderstand me? More often than not, the answer is nothing that matters. Their misunderstanding doesn't change your truth. It doesn't diminish your value. Instead, turn your focus inward. Build your own fortress. Learn to stand still in the storm of others' opinions without being swept away. Silence, when it's born from inner strength, is not weakness. It's thunder. It's the voice that says, I no longer seek your approval because I have found my own. This kind of silence is not about shutting down. It's about rising above. When you stop feeding others your energy, when you stop bleeding your clarity into their confusion, something miraculous happens. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to stand taller, breathe deeper, and feel lighter. And yes, some people will call you cold. Some will say you've changed, that you've built walls. But remember this, the ones who truly cared never needed explanations to begin with. They didn't need your words to believe your worth. They saw your heart even in your silence. So say less. Choose calm. Let your boundaries speak louder than your pleas. Your truth doesn't require applause to be real. It only requires you to honor it. In a world obsessed with noise, your stillness is revolutionary. Let this be your reminder. You do not need to explain yourself to anyone who has already decided what role you play in their story. You're not a character in their drama. You are the author of your own piece. Part 2. Don't expect fairness from those who benefit from your disadvantage. Have you ever wondered why some people never seem to change, no matter how kind you are, how forgiving, how patient? Why they continue to take advantage of your grace, your empathy, your silence? The truth is sobering. Some people thrive because you are broken. Their comfort depends on your discomfort. Their confidence is built on the shaky foundation of your silence. It's a brutal truth, but one we must face if we are ever to reclaim our peace. There are people who benefit from your disadvantage. Fairness is not in their nature, not because they are ignorant of it, but because fairness would require them to give up the very thing that gives them power, your pain. These individuals are not always strangers. Sometimes they are family, friends, people we once trusted. And because of that trust, we continue to hope that one day they'll recognize the damage they've done, that one day they'll choose to do the right thing. But ask yourself honestly, what incentive do they have to change if your suffering is what keeps them in control? Epictetus reminds us, it is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. And one of the most damaging judgments we carry is the belief that people who hurt us will one day become fair, that they will see us clearly if we just endure a little longer. But sometimes endurance is not a virtue, it's a slow surrender. Here's a reflection to consider. Are you holding on to the hope that someone will treat you with fairness when everything they've shown you says otherwise? When your brokenness serves their comfort, how could they ever wish for your healing? This is not to say that people cannot grow, but growth requires self-awareness, humility, and the courage to face one's own darkness. Not everyone is willing. Some would rather rewrite the narrative, painting themselves as the victim and you as the unreasonable one. And the more you shrink to keep them comfortable, the more they shine. It's not just manipulation, it's survival, built on your silence. So what do? We practice radical acceptance. We stop expecting fairness from those who are invested in our struggle. This doesn't mean we become bitter or vengeful. Quite the opposite. We detach with clarity. We step back with peace. We stop bleeding energy into people who thrive on draining us. Here's a Stoic exercise. Write down the names of people who continue to mistreat you despite your efforts. Beside each name, ask yourself, does this person gain something from my disadvantage? Then ask, what would change for them if I stepped into my full strength? If the answer threatens their comfort, you found your answer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You may not be able to change how others treat you, but you can choose how you respond. You can choose to remove yourself from environments that demand your silence and reward your suffering." The mistake we often make is believing that we must keep proving ourselves to those who refuse to see us. But you don't have to fight for a seat at a table built on your humiliation. You don't need validation from someone who only values you when you're broken. Let's be clear. This isn't about abandoning kindness or compassion. It's about directing it where it can flourish. It's about protecting your energy from people who see your giving nature as weakness. Your kindness should not be a currency others use to buy comfort while leaving you empty. And yes, when you step back, when you say enough, some people will accuse you of being cold, selfish, or ungrateful. But that is only because they no longer benefit from your disadvantage. Their accusations are not truths, they are symptoms of lost control. So stand firm. Let them say what they will. Let them tell their version of the story. You owe no one the privilege of your continued suffering. You owe yourself peace, healing, and clarity. Remember, fairness isn't something you demand from others. It's something you live by. When others fail to meet that standard, it's not your job to carry the weight of their shortcomings. Your only job is to walk away with grace. In the quiet aftermath of letting go, something beautiful happens. You begin to reclaim your strength. You see how much of yourself you gave away, how long you lived in the shadow of someone else's comfort, and then, slowly, you rise. Not in anger, not in vengeance, but in dignity, with a quiet, fierce kind of freedom that no one can take away. Because your worth was never tied to their ability to treat you fairly. It was always yours, always sacred. Let this truth settle in your bones. You are not here to be anyone's foundation while they build themselves up on your back. You are not required to bleed so others can feel whole. Fairness may not come from them, but peace can come from within you. And once you find that peace, guard it, cherish it, because that, my friend, is where your power lives. Part 3, your peace is not a negotiation. There comes a point in your life when you realize that peace, true lasting peace, is not something you beg for, nor something you barter with. It's not a prize to be earned by tolerating pain, nor a gift others get to grant you. It's your birthright. And the moment you begin to treat your peace like a negotiable commodity, you give others permission to invade it, manipulate it, and slowly dismantle the core of who you are. How often have you stayed in situations longer than you should, just to avoid discomfort? How many times have you silenced your instincts, ignored the red flags, or forced a smile while your spirit cried out for space, for quiet, for distance? We are taught that to be good is to be available, that to love is to sacrifice endlessly. But there's a silent cost to this conditioning, a slow erosion of the self. Stoicism reminds us that clarity is freedom. As Marcus Aurelius said, nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. Yet we continue to let guilt dictate our boundaries. We feel obligated to answer every call, explain every absence, justify every quiet retreat. We treat our inner sanctuary like a public park, open to anyone, at any time, regardless of how much it costs us. But here's the truth. Your peace is not up for debate. It is not selfish to need space. It is not cruel to walk away. Choosing stillness over chaos, solitude over noise, silence over drama. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Think about it. When was the last time you took a step back, not out of anger or resentment, but out of self-respect? When did you last say, no more, not to hurt someone else, but to stop hurting yourself? If the answer is, it's been a while, then maybe it's time to listen to the quiet voice inside that's been begging for peace. Here's a practical Stoic exercise. The next time you feel guilty for choosing rest over obligation, pause. Ask yourself, if this decision costs me my peace, is it worth it? More often than not, the answer is no. Guilt, after all, is often a learned response, one trained into us by those who benefit from our exhaustion. You see, not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not every text requires a reply. Not every invitation deserves a yes. There is strength in restraint. There is power in silence. You are not here to bleed dry for people who refuse to fill their own cup. Your retreat is not abandonment. It is self-rescue. And yes, people will misunderstand. They'll say you've changed, that you're distant, cold. But those are often the words of people who were comfortable with your lack of boundaries. They miss the version of you who stayed quiet, who gave endlessly, who broke herself to keep the peace. What they mourn is not connection, it's control. Remember what Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." The price of growth is often misunderstanding, but misunderstanding is a small price to pay for the treasure of your sanity. You are allowed to disappear, to go offline, to decline the call, to leave the message unanswered. You are allowed to cancel plans if your spirit is tired. You are allowed to stop showing up for people who never showed up for you. These are not acts of cruelty, they are acts of clarity. There's a difference between being at peace and being numb. Stoicism is not emotional suppression, it is emotional mastery. It teaches us to recognize what is worthy of our energy and what is not. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is nothing. Say nothing. Do nothing. Just step away and breathe. This is not an escape. It's a revolution. A quiet uprising against the systems, internal and external, that taught you your worth is measured by your availability. That love equals sacrifice. That stillness is laziness. Those beliefs are lies. And it's time to unlearn them. Here's another reflection. When was the last time you protected your peace with the same intensity you protected your obligations? What would it look like to treat your mental space as sacred ground, not open land? What if you became the guardian of your own well-being? Imagine building a fortress around your peace, not a wall to keep everyone out, but a filter to keep the chaos out. A clear boundary that says, I love you, but I also love myself, and I choose calm. This isn't selfishness. This is sovereignty. There is dignity in choosing silence. There is courage in choosing distance. And there is wisdom in walking away from what no longer nourishes your soul. Your peace isn't a favor you owe the world. It's a light you carry within you. Guard it fiercely. Let this truth settle deep into your bones. You are not responsible for other people's expectations. You are not the solution to their chaos. You are not the bridge to their healing. You are not the shelter from their storm. You are simply and profoundly the guardian of your own peace. And when you begin to live from that place, when peace becomes your non-negotiable, you stop chasing, explaining, shrinking. You start breathing, expanding, becoming. So the next time guilt knocks at your door, remember this. You don't have to answer. You don't have to justify your calm. You don't have to apologize for protecting your inner world. Because your peace is not a negotiation. It is the foundation of everything that matters. Part 4, people will shame you for setting boundaries. They once crossed freely. There's a peculiar kind of backlash that happens when you begin to reclaim your space. The moment you set boundaries, real, solid ones, you begin to notice a shift. Those who once took your kindness for granted start to bristle. Those who benefited from your silence suddenly accuse you of being cold, distant, or dramatic. Why? Because your transformation threatens the comfort they built on your compliance. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls to keep everyone out. It's about building gates, carefully managed, where only those who respect your peace are allowed through. Yet many people don't take kindly to this new version of you. They were perfectly comfortable when you bent, broke, and bled for their convenience. When you start saying no, even softly, It shakes the foundation of the power dynamic they depended on. Have you ever noticed how the moment you begin to prioritize yourself, you're suddenly labeled as selfish? The same people who crossed your boundaries without hesitation now paint you as the villain. It's not that you've become unkind, it's that you've stopped being endlessly available. And to those who feasted on your availability, that feels like betrayal. But this is the truth. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your growth is not up for their approval. As Seneca wrote, "No man has the power to have everything he wants, but it is in his power not to want what he doesn't have." You don't need the acceptance of those who once benefited from your lack of boundaries. You only need your own permission to change. There's a kind of emotional manipulation that masquerades as concern. People will say, "You've changed," as if that's inherently negative. But isn't change the point? Isn't growth the goal? You're not here to remain in the mold they cast for you. You're here to evolve, to shed the weight of expectations that never served your soul. Here's a Stoic reflection to carry with you. The next time someone calls you selfish for honoring your limits, pause and ask, who benefits from me having none? Often the loudest critics of your boundaries are those who miss exploiting them. Setting boundaries is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of clarity. You are not shutting people out, you are refusing to abandon yourself. There is no nobility in becoming a doormat. There is no wisdom in allowing others to trample your peace while you smile through the pain. Stoicism teaches us to endure what we must, but never to invite unnecessary suffering. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In the context of boundaries, this means we don't lash out, we don't retaliate, we don't stoop to the level of those who shame us. We simply become unavailable to their chaos. We disengage with quiet dignity. And yes, it can feel lonely at first. When you stop allowing people to cross lines, some of them leave. That is not a loss, it's a revelation. Those who leave when you demand respect were never truly there for you. Their love was conditional, tethered to your silence, your sacrifice, your compliance. True connection honors limits. True love respects space. Anyone who genuinely cares about you will not feel threatened by your boundaries. They will see them as an invitation to deeper, healthier, more honest relationship. Here's a practical exercise. Write down 3 boundaries you've been afraid to set. Then write next to each one the fear behind it. What are you afraid will happen if you say no, if you ask for space, if you walk away? Now challenge those fears. Are they real or are they echoes of old conditioning? We are taught from a young age that pleasing others is the path to belonging. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. True strength is found in self-respect. Belonging begins within, and when you honor your boundaries, you send a message to the world. I value myself enough to protect my peace. Let them gossip, let them twist the narrative. Let them say, you've changed, because you have, and that's something to celebrate, not defend. The you that once stayed silent, tolerated mistreatment, gave without receiving. That version needed to evolve. And now that you are rising, don't shrink back for the comfort of those who refuse to grow with you. You are not difficult for having needs. You are not dramatic for expressing limits. You are not cold for choosing distance. You are simply aware of what drains you, what empowers you, and what must change for you to thrive. Protecting your peace is not an attack on others. It's a declaration of self-worth. And if that rattles people, so be it. Your soul was not built to carry everyone else's comfort at the expense of your own sanity. Let this truth guide you. You are not here to play the role they wrote for you. You are the author now. The script has changed. And in this new chapter, boundaries are sacred. Your energy is honored, and your peace is non-negotiable. So stand tall in your truth. Let your calm be your answer. And remember, the more grounded you become, the more the world will try to unroot you. But you've outgrown the soil that once held you back, and no amount of guilt, shame, or pressure can reverse that growth. Part 5. You owe no closure to those who cause confusion. There's a deep ache that comes from not knowing why. When someone walks away without explanation, when betrayal crashes in without warning, when silence becomes the only answer, you are left with a haunting emptiness. You replay everything in your mind, trying to make sense of the senseless. You search for the words that never came, the apology that never arrived, the moment that could have made it all make sense. But here's the truth. Closure is not something they give you. It's something you create within yourself. You owe no closure to the ones who lit the fire and walked away as you burned. You don't have to wait at the door of their silence, hoping for a knock that will never come. Stoicism teaches us to return to ourselves. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Waiting for closure from someone who caused the harm is like waiting for the storm to apologize for the flood. It leaves you stranded in a story that no longer deserves your presence. Ask yourself, what am I hoping to hear from them that I don't already know? If they truly cared, wouldn't they have spoken? If they valued your peace, wouldn't they have helped preserve it? More often than not, the people who confuse us know exactly what they're doing. Some are careless, some are cruel, but either way, they are not your solution. You are not trapped by what they did. You are trapped by what you keep telling yourself about it. That if they just explained, you could move on. That if they just acknowledged the pain, you'd find peace. But let's be honest. Would their explanation really erase the damage, or would it only reopen the wound? There's a reason the Stoics emphasize letting go of what is outside our control. Closure given by others is always outside our control, and when we chase it, we give them power over our healing. That power belongs to you. Here's a practical Stoic exercise. Write a letter to the person who hurt you, but don't send it. Write everything you wish you could say, every question, every emotion. Then read it aloud to yourself. Let your own voice validate your pain, then destroy the letter. Burn it, shred it, throw it away. Not because the pain is gone, but because you are choosing not to let it rule you. Healing is not about justice. It's not about fairness. It's about truth. And sometimes the truth is this: they left because they could. They hurt you because they were willing. And that's all the closure you'll ever need. Closure is not a conversation. It's a decision. A moment when you stop waiting for someone else to free you and you free yourself. It's choosing to stop chasing clarity from people who created confusion in the first place. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. You may never get the apology. You may never hear the real reason, but you can still close the chapter. Not with bitterness, but with boundaries. Not with hatred, but with silence. Let your absence be the final word. Let their questions echo where your voice used to be. Some people are architects of chaos. They thrive on ambiguity, on half-truths, on disappearing acts. Engaging with them again is like handing them the pen to rewrite your ending. Don't do it. You've come too far to let them shape your story again. You deserve peace, not explanations. You deserve stillness, not circular conversations. You deserve a life built on clarity, not confusion. And that begins when you stop begging for closure from those who never cared enough to give it. Here's another exercise. Each time your mind drifts to the why, gently bring it back to the what now. Don't ask, why did they leave? Ask, what can I build from here? Redirect your focus to what is within your reach, your breath, your choices, your values. It's not easy. There will be days when you ache for answers, when the silence feels like a scream. But over time, you will realize something. You didn't need their words to heal. You needed your own courage to walk away. You owe no final text, no message seeking understanding, no explanation of your silence. You owe no one a seat in your healing process, especially not the ones who shattered it. Let them wonder. Let them tell their version. Let them sit in the void you leave behind. Because that void, it's not emptiness, it's space. Space for you to rebuild. Space for peace to return. Space for you to rise. You are not unfinished because they left without a word. You are whole because you chose to complete the story without them. Let that be your closure. Not the ending they refused to give you, but the one you created, boldly, bravely, and beautifully. Not out of rage, but out of reverence for your own peace. And if someday they return, seeking to reopen what you've sealed, remember this. Your silence is sacred. Your peace is not up for negotiation. You owe them nothing, because you have already given yourself everything you need to move on. If this message resonates with you, please like and share it with someone who is also quietly searching. Subscribe to Stoic Timeless Lessons. The next video may not only inform you, but also awaken something you have long forgotten and are searching for in your life.